Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Under the Radar, the raw look of mental illness. My name is Tudor, Vasile from the Mental Awareness Foundation. And today, you know what? Nothing's scripted. Nothing's edited. Everything is just raw and it's real. As we talk to real people just to get an inside scoop on how they've managed their lives through what is a really difficult time out there in society at the moment. Look, why we do this, we're just hoping to spread awareness. We want people watching this to know you're not alone, and there may be people out there like you and I suffering a mental illness and may find this conversation that we have very useful. So if you do, I really encourage you guys to share it, to like it, and get the message out there. But today, I'm really, really excited to have a special guest on the show. I've even got some music to play in the background here as well. But without announcing his name straight away, he was awarded the AFL Ron Evans Medal Award back in 2009 for the NAB Rising Star Award, being only the second Rising Star winner to poll maximum votes from all 9 judges. So he's a bit of a legend. Joined the Brisbane Lions midfield in 2009. The praise for Rich's debut season did keep coming, this time coming from the players themselves after winning the AFLPA Award for Best First Year Player by more than 400 votes. 2014 awarded the Michael Tuck Medal for Best and Fairest Player in the AFL Preseason Cup. The Age website back in 2008 headlined Lions hit draft jackpot by getting rich. I quite like that. But today we're hit the jackpot as the Mental Awareness Foundation welcomes to Under the Radar show AFL superstar, Brisbane Lions midfielder, family man, Daniel Rich. Woo! I just had to play the Brisbane Lions anthem, mate. Can you hear that, mate? It's bloody so.
What a song.
Do you get goosebumps every time you hear that as you walk out onto the field?
Oh, it's good. It's one of those things that I've got well and truly implanted in my mind at the moment as well. Especially my young fella, every day when I drive him to daycare, that's the only song he wants to listen to. So
yeah,
it's definitely played a bit in our home.
Yeah, good on you, mate. Good. No, it's mate. Look, I guess as I was saying, I'd get crucified if we didn't talk shop a little bit today about a bit about the football, but today, you know, I just want to say thanks for coming on the show at the Mental Awareness Foundation. Mate, you know, you guys are really doing well over there at the Brisbane Lions. You've got a lot of young players and a newish coach from Hawthorn. Mate, what's it like rebuilding a new young team with, you know, a bit of an older, experienced coach?
Yeah, I've had a bit of a different pathway. I suppose when I first came, my first season, 11, 12 years ago, I played finals in my first season, and things were looking really good. And then from there, it kind of went downhill gradually over time, and we haven't played finals until last year since. So there was 10 years between my first, I suppose, part of finals, and then obviously last year we're back in the finals again. So I've kind of gone 360 in a way. There's been a lot of up and down, change of coaches, change of players. I think I'm the only player there from my first year left there. So,
wow.
But it's made the feeling the last couple of years that bit better. And I've kind of, been through those tough times and come out the other side.
And what's working at the moment for you, mate? You said that, you know, mate, I remember those years. You know, you couldn't do anything wrong. It was fantastic. And then obviously you guys hit rock bottom as a team, and now you guys are you're making the finals. What's working for you guys at the moment compared to other years?
Oh, there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle, to be honest. There's not one simple kind of answer for that, but there's a lot of buy-in from everyone. Not just from a footy point of view, but just the whole way that we communicate and give feedback, and a whole variety of things that are small pieces of the puzzle, but they're important pieces nonetheless. So we've been we've got some strong pillars at our footy club that look after and drive the place, but at the same time, you've got to have, especially in a business or an environment where there's a lot of people, including staff and players, everyone's got to buy in.
Mate, do you feel probably now more than ever? Are you feeling the pressure as more one of the senior players to really step up and show your leadership and show your value as a player?
Yeah, it's a funny one. You kind of you expect more from yourself than anything else, but at the same time, you back in that you've I suppose lived it and breathed it and had those experiences that you feel comfortable with that pressure and you want that pressure and you basically expect to. That's your way of giving back to not only the club but the players to help guide them in certain situations and experiences. It's just the way it works, I suppose, in footy clubs. When you get to a certain point, it's up to you to drive things.
Mate, I guess, mate, segueing a little bit into the whole, you touched on the word pressure and performance. Footballers, I believe, I come from an ex-professional soccer background, and I played representative football as a kid, and there was a famous saying, they say it's easier to get to the top, but being able to maintain that performance at a certain standard is the toughest, is the hardest. You guys are put out there on a stage, you're put under intense pressure to perform. What do you do? Like now more than ever, you guys are having to perform. What do you do as Dan Rich, as a player, to be able to manage your psychic, your mental health, to be able to go out on a weekend, to be able to hit the mark, to be on point, to be able to perform under pressure without letting it all affect you?
Yeah, it's a big balancing act, in my opinion, and everyone's so different. So it's me talking what works for me at the moment. But for me, I know that if I do what I need to do during the week, I have that extra confidence to go out there on the weekend, knowing I've done the work to be ready for the game. And for me, that's firstly refining my previous game, learning from that game, and then almost putting that to bed. Not dwelling on it, especially the bad things. There's always things in the game that you can do better, and they're the things that you naturally think about as humans. That's what we do. So I go through that with my coach and myself, and put it to bed and work on it during the week, and then I go into that next game ready to go. And then at the same time, I'm a big one that I've got to get away from footy during the week. I'm not a big one that'll sit there and watch every game over the weekend or constantly have footy on my mind. I think a bit of a trigger for me is when I walk through the doors of the footy club, it's 100% footy at the right time to joke around with the boys and all that stuff. But when it's footy time, it's footy time. And then when I walk out the doors, I try to get away from it and go play golf or go for a surf, or obviously love time with my family and that type of thing. So everyone's different, but I've found over time, and that's the thing. It takes time to learn what's best for you. I wasn't this way instantly from my first season.
Can you, mate? You just touched on something there that I just want to touch on, because I think a lot of people don't get past it. And I know as an athlete, when I didn't get past it, but it sounds like you've made a point of it to share it. But whether you got taught this strategy or whether you just naturally learnt it, but you talked about putting it to bed. So you'll review your weekend that's been, you'll talk about I'm assuming you talked about the good things and the things that you didn't do so well, but you won't dwell on it. You'll learn from your mistakes and move on. How did that come about? Is that something that was trained for you, or you read in a book, or how did you work out that worked for you?
Yeah, I think it's more something like just a lesson that I've learned. Probably more of a trial and error kind of thing. I think the lucky thing in my environment, playing elite sport every single weekend, we review the games, whether we play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we review the game Monday, and by Tuesday we're already moving on to the opposition. So I'm lucky that I'm not someone who has an event every 8 weeks, for example, where that's all I'm thinking about potentially from one game or whatever it is to the next. So I naturally have to move on quick because I've got a new opposition and whatnot. But I think put that aside. I think if you think about it too much and you worry about it too much throughout your whole week, it's draining. It drains you and takes your energy and your focus away from other things. And you've got to understand that no one's perfect. It's going to be impossible for a player to play a perfect game. That's just the honesty of it. As much as we try to play a perfect game, you've got to be realistic that it's impossible to happen. It's just how close you get.
Mate, then how do you I just find that very fascinating, interesting, because I think in life, we have moments in our life that happen to us, off the field, and you don't even have to be a professional athlete. And I know I have these moments in business, and you'll get knocked for six, and you'll be challenged, and you seem to dwell upon it, and it kind of eats into your psychic, and you go to bed at night, and all you could think about is what you got to do at work and or your problem you're having with your relationship. But it's refreshing to hear that, because you're right. You can just confront it, deal with it, put it to bed, and then, all right, cool, move on with a different perspective and a different approach. So, look, I find that very interesting. But it's interesting. Not a lot of us do that in our day-to-day world. We get stuck in the moment. You probably hear about that, and a lot of players do.
I think a big part of it is you go back to the very, very start of it. And if you go into something thinking that, if you go into your day, say you wake up tomorrow morning, you think your day is going to be just this perfect, it sets you up. It sets you up for that feeling, because you've got to understand from the start that there's going to be bad parts of your day, good parts of your day. So when the bad parts do come, they don't hit you as hard, because in a way, you've already got that understanding and that awareness that it's going to happen, if that makes sense. So, I think in days, it's just about trying to make more better things happen than not so good things. But that's not always the case as well.
Mate, to deep dive a little bit, let's, I always wanted to know what's going through a player's head when, you're at the last minutes of the game, or the pressure's on for you to perform. Mate, how do you, on the field, taking away what you've learnt during the week, how do you keep yourself calm? How do you keep yourself mentally calm so you don't, think about something you're not supposed to be thinking about? Do you have a certain mantra or a certain technique that you go through to keep yourself calm when performing?
Yeah, I suppose it's such a split-second game that we live in, and there's so many moving parts, and you don't really often get much time to think about stuff. But I think it's more about after mistakes are made, or something's happened that you regret, or whatever it might be. It's about what you think about. What can I do next? What you just worry about the next moment. Because in our game we get a lot of chances to have that next moment, or it's about moving on quickly and whatnot. But I think it's about practicing that scenario. So you practice it not so much during the week, because you can't replicate game situations every single week, but as often as you can in those situations, you've got to take what you can, and next time you're in it, you're going to be able to react and respond that bit calmer or that bit quicker. Something that happens over time.
Mate, it must be, I just realised this, one of my questions was how do you handle the abuse from players or from the crowd when they're yelling at you? But you guys don't have a crowd at the moment, so it must be a breath of fresh air in a way. But how was adapting to the new game being, with no spectators and no crowd cheering you on? How have you managed that?
Yeah, it's been interesting. We had, obviously, at the very start, we've had a few increases in crowd in the last couple of weeks. We had, I think we had close to 10,000 on the weekend, which was good. 2,000 the week before, but and then obviously 0 before that. But I've been asked the question a fair bit, and it's not as different as you might think. We train and play match sim between each other, and pre-season games where there's not many people there watching and all that kind of stuff. I feel like when I can only answer this for me, but when I cross the line and get into a game, I'm so focused on what's happening that background noise is almost like it's literally like you're at a pub having a few beers and that bubbling noise in the background. That's almost a way to describe it. And then you're kind of in conversation with your mates, on a table or whatever. That's kind of the game, and then the background kind of just happens. So it hasn't been too much of a shift for me, to be honest. It was just it's more if a goal's kicked, and the highs and lows are obviously less. But I haven't seen too much difference.
Mate, do you have a morning or daily routine you perform to ensure you're on point for the day? You hear about these people like, the Tony Robbins and the athletes of the day. They get up at 5 a.m, they read the paper, they do their meditation, they go for a 10K run, then they come home and eat their porridge, and then off they go. Does Dan Rich, the footballer, does he have a bit of a daily routine?
I think naturally I've kind of got, it's not one that I think about or lock in or write down or anything like that. Our days are so different every single day that I can't physically do that. But obviously with a human alarm clock, in a couple of doors down, that makes a difference. But I'm definitely a morning person, and often I'll be asleep early and wake up sometimes earlier than the little fella. And I think it's my favourite part of the day, the morning. I basically get up and spend some time with them, and then basically get stuck into the day, because most days we start reasonably early. But to be honest, the daily routine now is up, spend time with the family, and then do the daycare drop off, and then I'm off to work. So it's good.
The family man, mate. I want to talk about the pandemic and this experience we've gone through, because I know it's really affected people in different ways. And I shared with you off air before this how it affected me, and it's pushed me from pillar to post. But before that, I just, you're not the young pup in the team anymore, but you're a bit older and wiser. If there was a general piece of advice you'd give to a footballer 10 years ago, or a struggling athlete coming through today's ages, what would be that? What would that be, and why?
The biggest thing I've noticed just within my basically 10, 12 year career so far is the willingness for people to ask for help, and I think having alongside that the people that are there to help as well, and the understanding. I think if a young guy was to come to me and say I was battling with this or this, I think you'd almost in a way respect them for coming and asking you, and as opposed to hiding it or keeping things swept under the carpet. So, and then at the same time, our footy club's so good, and having resources available, and that comfort that people can talk about their issues or have the right people to approach, or whatever it might be. So I think it would just be to be honest and speak out, because you're going to be better off not only individually, most importantly individually, but for the whole footy club as well, if you can be looked after.
Do you think the game has changed from that perspective, in the sense that 10 years ago, it was tough. People tell you to toughen up and harden up, and don't be soft. Do you think is a great opportunity for players to talk about how they feel and communicate with their seniors, and it's accepted?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, not so much the people necessarily. Back when I first started, we had some great people, but I think it was just that stigma around it, that especially in men and in footy clubs, and I think men as a whole in society 10, 12 years ago. But there's been a massive shift, and I think it's been so much for the better. It's something that I really noticed, and I think so important. It links into there's more stresses, there's more pressure in the game, there's all that kind of stuff. So naturally, mental health issues is only going to increase as well.
Mate, I think You nailed it. It's tough for men as well out there. We're just trying to break this stigma that exists in society with men, and just getting men talking about them feelings and opening up. So what you guys are doing at the football is absolutely fantastic. But I do want to just talk about the pandemic, because this whole experience for us over the last 3 or 4 months has just been horrific. It's been challenging for everybody, whether you're a footballer or you're a business owner. The Mental Health Commissioner said this pandemic that's unfolding is severe. We're seeing mental illness levels on the rise, pressure of isolation, loss of income, people are losing jobs, suicide rates are going up, unfortunately. Can you share with us when did the corona pandemic really hit home to you? Do you remember that moment or that phone call or that day? And can you take us through that journey and how you coped with this?
Yeah. So the strange thing for us was we found out it got announced in the AFL at halftime during our first game, but we didn't get told anything until after, obviously, that game. We were down in Melbourne. We lost that first game and then got told, so it kind of added to the disappointment. But I think it really hit home that next weekend when we were obviously meant to be playing round 2, and we weren't playing. It kind of, normally we would have been back at the Gabba, we would have been playing, and you basically we're then given a program to train during the week, but the weekends were just a weekend where we didn't kind of have any training or any game to do. So it kind of hit home then. But yeah, I think the hardest part for players and for me was at that point we didn't, and for so much longer after that, we weren't told when we were going to start training or when we were going to play again. And typically, the way it's always been for me is you get given dates and you get given kind of almost like a deadline in a work. You know when it has to be done by. You know when the start of pre-season is, when your Christmas break is, when your first game is, and you basically set your sights and prepare for the start of a season or whatever it might be. But we didn't have that, so I know a lot of the boys were kind of battling of finding motivation at time to train hard or to back off or whatever it might be, knowing that they've got a game in X amount of weeks without having that date in the I suppose in the future.
It must have been unreal. But were you shocked? Were you like concerned? Were you worried about your career? Like, you've gone from playing football for the last 10 years religiously on a schedule, and then all of a sudden mid-season they're like, yeah, mate, that's it, game over, I'm going to take a break, train from home. You're like, yeah, were you completely just knocked off your pedestal?
It was, mate, it was strange. It was, and having been in the system for so long and just one season rolls into the next and you get so routine and used to, I suppose, things happening, that it was a bit of a shake-up. It was a strange time. Obviously, the uncertainty of it all was not so much about playing the next game, but there was obviously financial stuff with all, whether we play, whether we don't play. Then in the background, the Players Association was negotiating with the AFL, and there was guys on all different amounts of money. And there was a whole variety of things that was adding to the uncertainty and the stress and the pressure. And everyone's in a different situation, but I've got a family to provide for and care for, so that was naturally forefront of my mind. And there's a lot of moving parts, but at the same time, you've got to look for those silver linings.
Mate, you said that was quite stressful and it was challenging. What do you think, that would have taken its toll mentally as well? You would have been pushed from pillar to post. How did you cope? Do you think what you learned as a footballer helped you in this pandemic to where you are today to get through this, and with your family as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think it got to a point when after a couple of weeks, so we got told, and then we had a couple of weeks of training, and I think the whole, I don't know what the word is, but the whole kind of uniqueness of the situation wore off a bit, if that makes sense. It got to a point when you were stuck at home and you're training and doing whatever you were doing. You got to a bit where it wore off, and you then had to knuckle down, and I just basically focused on one session after the other. Get this session done the best I can, we had different announcements being made almost on a weekly basis about when we were going to play, what we were going to do, all that kind of stuff. And got to a point to me where I just stopped listening to it in a way and listened to what I had to listen to. But basically, I'll control what I have to control and make sure I'm ready for whenever it might happen. So yeah, it was a bit of a mental thought switch, but it helped me through it with a variety of other things. I was lucky that I got to renovate. I basically spent the time and renovating our house, which was actually
great.
Which was amazing. Yeah, it was so much fun. I was
great.
basically getting up really early, doing my training, and then spending kind of 7, 8, 9 hours at the house doing renovations every day. So yeah, it was a good way to break it up.
Mate, it's interesting, a bit of an off topic here. I have a friend that works at Dulux, and they said they broke all records for selling residential paint to mums and dads because they've never sold more paint because people are doing home renovations in their entire life. And then I spoke to a medic at a hospital, and he said it was so quiet because no one was out on the roads, and, he's in the emergency ward and there's no car accidents. But he ended up dealing with home renovation accidents because dads and mums were putting nails through fingers and chopping off fingers or falling off ladders and whatnot. So I think you and the whole of Australia, especially Queensland, got the paintbrush out and did a bit of DIY work. So, mate, I find that interesting, you sharing on that, just to focus on that, because you touched on what I like, just focusing on what you can control. And that's, in the mental health space, you hear about that a lot, just focus on yourself, what you can control, and they call it that noise, let all that noise around you in the world just bypass you. So, mate, is that something you think you learnt from your football days, or is that just something that your parents have taught you, or is it a strategy that's really worked for you?
No, it's definitely something I've learned, and something that's pretty important. Your career and your form obviously goes up and down naturally along the way, and you have so many people, whether they're criticising you or telling you where you can get better or whatever they're saying, you basically have to. I find the way it works for me is I find a few people that I really value, and I listen to them, and not being disrespectful to anyone else. I basically shut out any other noise, and work on and follow to, I suppose, instructions or advice I'm given off those people I value, and then get to work and look to control those things and work on those things. And hopefully over time that other noise kind of quietens down and you're taking care of what you need to take care of, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I understand. Does Dan Rich, does he... mate, do you have a mentor that you follow as well that inspires you to be a better person?
There's a few guys that I speak to. There's guys within footy that I speak to a bit, and there's also guys outside of footy, just to give me a bit of a different perspective on things and a different kind of outlook, as opposed to just it's funny when you're within the four walls of a footy club, the language that's used always kind of comes back to footy talk and certain words. So it's good to be able to chat to guys in different industries and whatnot that you're close with and you're friends with, that can, I suppose, have a different perspective or a different look on the same situation.
Mate, look, the isolation, we're seeing in Melbourne now, the pandemic, they're going through a bit of a second wave down there. Who knows? It could happen up here in Queensland. Look, I hope not. What have you found the toughest during this whole pandemic that we're experiencing here?
Well, I'm a pretty active kind of person. So when we first started back playing, we had to almost rewind and stricten our protocols again, even though I suppose everyone else in Queensland were going the other way. That few restrictions got relaxed and whatnot. And I think that was the hardest thing for me as a person and for my family. Like, we couldn't have anyone over our house, couldn't have any guests to our house, all that kind of stuff. And like, it was my son's 3rd birthday during that period, and so he couldn't have a little birthday party. No, it doesn't. He doesn't really know any different, but naturally as a dad, I felt bad that because of my career and what I was doing, I couldn't have a little party for him and whatnot. Just little things like that, and I suppose they add up over time, and might sound silly, but weren't able to go for a surf or play golf for about 4 or 5 weeks. But it's funny what 4 or 5 weeks you're not doing that, and especially that's a pretty big part of my week, to be able to mentally, I suppose, get away from footy and relax and press the reset button in a way.
Yeah, mate. Well, look, I hope in the world that the restrictions lift and we can get back to normality, and I hope that the crowds come back with force, and I hope this period where we have been isolated, I think there's a silver lining to this and this whole experience, and my silver lining is that I've never felt so connected to my community, to the things that I love, and to my family, and because I got so caught up in the world that was going on around us. I guess using your terminology, the noise, I wasn't as focused. So I hope that Brisbane and the Brisbane fans will realise how much they missed seeing the Brisbane Lions run around on the field and Dan Rich kick his 50-yard goals from out of the halfway line. So, and I'll come back with force, chanting your name and the song. But Dan, I'll probably wrap it up there, but Walk for Awareness is something that you have been involved in for a number of years now, which is Queensland Mental Health Week's official walk for awareness, which is an 8K walk raising awareness for the 8 Australians we lose every day. Mate, you've been very passionate about getting behind it every year, which we are in debt to you for. Why is this so close to you, and why are you so passionate about it?
Oh, I think for a variety of reasons, really. But obviously, when you experience it, when you're actually there and experience it, it makes you want to come back each and every year. It's just a way that people can share stories and talk to one another, and it speaks for itself. Raise more awareness for something that I think it's been hidden for a long time. It's something, especially within males, it's something that naturally we want to hide, but the more it can be exposed and encouraged to be spoken about.
Sorry, my lighting timer's going out. I'm not moving quick enough.
No, the more that it can be spoken about, I think not only in my workplace, but more importantly in society, then the better off everyone's going to be. Not just the people experiencing it; they're the most important people to be able to support and be there for, but as a whole, it's something that's very important.
Yeah, well, thanks, mate. We look, the show must go on. The walk will be on Sunday, the 11th of October. Again, launching Queensland Mental Health Week. Registrations are open now at walkforawareness.org.au. Look, we understand that it's tough times. We're predicting we will be allowed to have a crowd of people down there. We are 3 months away. So if we're allowing 10,000 people to the football, I'm putting my top dollar on the fact that we'll be allowing the walkers down at Captain Burke Park there in Brisbane. However, this year we're going virtual. So people all around Australia can register. The packs will be sent out to them and they can walk their 8Ks. If it's down at their local park or if it's at the beach, they can get behind this walk as well. So something we're passionate about. But Dan Rich, I just want to say a big thank you. Oh, no, we lost it. I had this song performed. I hope that's not a sign that now you're going to lose a few games and crash out just like that song. But, mate, I just want to say thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. And thanks for the time to come in on the show.
No worries, mate. Anytime.